Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. We've got some stunning news for you about the ongoing Russia investigation. News that will challenge everything you thought you knew about this story. Yesterday, we showed you the terrifying extent to which Vladimir Putin's sinister tendrils have encircled the American body politic, crushing the very life from this republic. Russian agents are so intent on undermining our democracy, they have taken to promoting our own Bill of Rights back to us, the Second Amendment specifically. Now, we'll admit we're not exactly sure how that's bad, but Adam Schiff has assured us that it is. And because Schiff is a prominent member of Congress and often appears on cable news, we believe him. Now tonight we've learned that the foreign subversion goes even deeper than that. The Russian conspiracy is so subtle, so crafty, such a bewildering Slavic hall of mirrors, that the very people warning us about Russia are in fact key players in the Russian conspiracy. The leaders of the witch hunt are witches. Sound impossible? Listen to this. Last year, the Director of National Intelligence released the definitive report on Russian propaganda efforts in this country. The main focus of that report was the Russian cable channel RT America, which is funded and controlled by the Putin government. In the words of our intelligence community, RT engages in, and we're quoting now, anti-U.S. messaging likely aimed at undermining viewers' trust in U.S. democratic procedures, end quote. Our government considers RT so dangerous that the channel has been forced to register as a foreign agent. RT employees who fail to register could face prison time. No outlet in this country has ever been forced to do that. RT is a sinister place. Everybody says so. So who would go on a channel like that, one whose sole agenda is to discredit and destroy the American experiment? Well, none other than one Adam Bennett Schiff of Burbank, California. You know him as Congressman Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, the man leading the charge against Vladimir Putin's propaganda machine. And yet, Adam Schiff was part of that machine. Seriously. Here's an actual screenshot, just so you know we're not making this up. Though his office refused to confirm it tonight, we can assure you that that is indeed Adam Schiff, the one and only. In our appearance that our producers reviewed, Adam Schiff's appearance, Schiff seemed to promote conspiracy theories about the U.S. government, suggesting that the men and women who lay down their lives to keep us safe may be twisting information for their own purposes. Here's a quote. "We only see what the intelligence community wants us to see." Adam Schiff said that on Russian television. There must have been applause in the Kremlin when he did. But Schiff isn't alone. Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut also appeared on Vladimir Putin's cable channel. In one appearance, Himes said this about our men in uniform and their civilian leaders. Quote, "The invasion of Iraq, I would argue, the great American foreign policy mistake of the century." Well, in the background, you could almost hear Vladimir Putin cackling with glee. So here you have two prominent members of Congress voluntarily appearing on a foreign propaganda outlet in order to undermine confidence in America's core institutions, as they might put it, doing the bidding of a hostile foreign power. Tokyo Rose went to prison for that. Now, we're not suggesting prison at this point. That's a decision a new special counsel and federal grand juries will have to make after an appropriately extensive and independent investigation into all of this. That could take years, not that justice has a timetable. In the meantime, Schiff and Himes must recuse themselves immediately from any role in the Russia investigation, including appearances on MSNBC's primetime lineup. We assume the special counsel will also take up the mysterious and troubling case of the non-existent nude photographs, a story just broken by the Daily Mail hours ago. Last year, Adam Schiff conducted a phone call with Russian pranksters who promised him compromising photographs of Donald Trump with a Russian model. Schiff's office claims the congressman wasn't fooled by the prank. The call's transcript suggests otherwise. Schiff continued that conversation for more than 8 minutes and appeared to be taking notes during it. After the call, Schiff's office contacted somebody they believed was a Ukrainian politician seeking to set up a meeting at a foreign embassy where they could obtain those documents. Let's see. Setting up meetings with foreign operatives seeking politically damaging information about a political opponent? We thought that was treason. Adam Schiff told us it was. Congressman Mark Pocan is a colleague of Mr. Schiff's. He's a Democrat representing the state of Wisconsin, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Pocan, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, glad to be here, Tucker.
So the intelligence community, our intelligence community, described RT as a key component of the Russian propaganda machine. And here you have one of the leaders, one of the grand inquisitors in the Russia investigation appearing on it. willfully being used by the Russian government to propagandize our people, to undermine our democracy, to hack our way of life. Why should he not recuse himself immediately from the investigation on the basis of that?
Well, I assumed from the whole intro you were doing that as tongue-in-cheek, because clearly, as you know, politicians are on many, many networks, and I don't think he was, as you're trying to describe, saying that RT is trying to undermine American democracy and doing something. So
our intelligence community.
I got the point. I get the point. I think we all get the point.
I'm just using the standards that everyone in Washington is using, that the Washington Post and the leaders of your party are using. If you have contact with the Russian government, and particularly if you willingly participate in Russian propaganda efforts.
Tucker, you don't honestly believe that someone being on a network doing an appearance on, for all you know, it could have been on, sugar content in food, because you didn't show the clip.
No, it was on American intelligence gathering. I watched it today. Yeah. So he's going on Vladimir Putin's propaganda outlet to talk about American intelligence gathering.
Tucker,
does that bother you?
Well, aren't you? You're comparing that to what we know ultimately happened. There were people who set up meetings in the Trump family with Russians in order to get information, and you're trying to compare that to RT.
Well,
I got the tongue-in-cheek
No, what I'm saying is that
I just don't know if it was
for
very
a fact
effective.
that Adam Schiff did exactly that last year. He was
are
called
you
by
honestly arguing someone, if I go on Fox Network, therefore I'm tainted by Fox Network forever?
And by the way,
look, that wouldn't make a lot of sense,
point
Tucker.
is, this is a total McCarthyite witch hunt, as you know. And the Attorney General recused himself because he shook the hand of the Russian ambassador. The whole thing is a joke, but we might as well, if we're going to use these standards, keep to them. But I have a real
Tucker, what I will agree about a joke is I think this memo that Devin Nunes, after being forced to recuse himself from the investigation after doing like small town community theater, remember the one night he got out of the car, went to the White House to get info, the next day I've got info, and he gave it to the White House. I mean, the fact that he then directed this memo, which now we all know there's nothing in that, I think that is far more substantive than you making a tongue-in-cheek point about a network.
That. I'm not here to defend Devin Nunes. I do think it raises important questions for all American citizens about what the criteria are the government's using to spy on Americans, and they're clearly quite low, and that bothers me.
Tucker, where we might find some agreement is I, along with many Republicans and Democrats, had problems when we reauthorized FISA because we want to keep it tighter, right?
Nobody should have voted for it.
I just think some of the people now who are trying to use the memo should have also been around there. If they knew it at that time, why did they allow the reauthorization of FISA to happen? So again, it just shows one more reason why that memo is such a joke.
I'm with you on that. I don't know if it doesn't necessarily discredit the memo, but it's a real question. I want to ask you about an actual story just broke in the Daily Mail that shows that Adam Schiff had a phone call with two comedians who he believed were Russian, and they offered him photographs of Donald Trump with a Russian model. He says he knew it was a prank. That's clearly a lie, because he dispatched a member of his committee staff, Rihanna Workala, who makes $100,000 a year. We checked, she works there. And she emailed them and said this: I understand Mr. Schiff had a productive meeting. Would you like to make some material available to Mr. Schiff through your embassy? Then again, she said, let me know the best way to pick up these materials from your embassy in Washington. Then she emailed back the next day. Do you know when we might be able to meet your colleagues at the Ukrainian embassy here in Washington to pick up the materials? How is that not Adam Schiff's office coordinating with foreign agents to get damaging material on a political opponent? Isn't that exactly what Trump is being accused of?
Not even close, but I think you should bring Adam in and ask him that if you want an answer.
He's too cowardly to come on the show. He accused me of working for Putin and then would never come on again. But I just want to ask you, how is that different from, how is that okay?
Well, it's significantly different. So first of all, this is one of the issues. I got politifacted on. You know how no one likes to be politifacted in case you're wrong. I was politifacted on that meeting that they had at Trump Tower with the Russian individual, and I got, I think, a mostly true, because I said they came in the back door and we couldn't verify that the Russians came in the back door. It could have been a side door or a window.
Well, we've talked about that forever.
But it's a completely different situation.
Is it
completely different. Are you actually equating the two?
I'm actually simply asking a very straightforward question.
Yeah, and I'm asking you too. I mean, are you equating the two? Because I don't. And
it doesn't even matter how it compares to anything else. On its own terms, is it all right for the ranking member Democratic member of the Intel Committee, to set up a meeting.
I think you need to
foreign
have him
agents.
on to see.
But do you think it's
so
okay?
he can explain if it was what what I believe I saw in your intro was that he said it was a comedian, or maybe I saw
No,
another.
we have the emails from his staff.
Then he would be a great guest to try to book on it. But I can't talk about an interview.
Oh, you can't talk.
That I wasn't there for it. Well, seriously.
You can't talk
You're
about
equating,
something that someone else did? You can talk
Tucker,
about what Donald Trump Jr. did. He's not here.
You're equating it to a meeting that is very well publicized that we know about now, right?
I mean,
wouldn't you say the other? Yeah, we learned about it today.
And it seems like
the other one we've known for quite a while.
evidence he was trying to get information from a foreign government.
Tucker,
It's
really?
right here. Let's put it on the screen again.
Is the best we have RT and a Russian comedian? Is that really the best we have?
The best we have is a member of the Intel Committee staff,
Tucker,
right there,
Tucker.
Rhiannon Warkala.
I expect better. I mean, this is really.
I'm actually dead serious.
This is kind of like local community theater. This is local community theater. Devin Nunes could do this, but I don't.
I'm serious.
I'm surprised that you are. I have a lot more respect for you.
You're not going to engage, are you?
Well, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, really.
Oh, it is. It's just a joke.
So far, what you're putting up today is, seriously, when you had the intro, as I watched it while I'm sitting next to you, I thought it was tongue-in-cheek just to kind of prove a point.
The first part was, hold on, but the first part, I mean,
but it's the same as what you're doing now.
The Democratic Party has lost its mind, and it is conducting a McCarthyite.
So the president who said members of Congress who didn't applaud are committing treason.
I hated that. I hated that. I'm not here to defend Trump. I'm here to defend the basic civil liberties I grew up with. And
I think you and I probably have some agreement on the FISA stuff, right?
Why don't you get on the story and we can talk about it later, because it's interesting.
I'll take a look and I'll read it.
Appreciate it. Spats over Russia are distracting from the real issue of the Nunes memo, the possibility that intelligence services are spying on you and other American citizens without real restrictions. Cheryl Atkinson, host Sinclair's Full Measure, has herself said that she's the target of government surveillance, and she joins us tonight. Cheryl, thanks a lot for coming on. You spent years on this question with basically no support from your colleagues.